I'll show you who I have here. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
My name's John McHenry. We're gonna make a movie.
I'm not in the movie.
We'll get you in though.
No.
I don't know if you know any of this folks or not. Henry Blakeman, Harry Luther, Raymond Ward, Ralph Lee. Now he died recently. He was one at Pearl Harbor.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Raymond Mullen, who's out around South Webster my way. Bill Conley. He went so long I had to put him over here. Charles Fannin, Steve Dillon, these are friends of mine.
Yeah.
Frank Sarasso, you probably know.
Yeah,
Heard
yeah.
of him.
Down at the veteran.
He's Vietnam. Dan Sissel, George Malone, Carl Franz. Carl Franz was in Korea, he was a Marine. Carl Eugene, Gene Davis, Carl Shamart's out my way. You can see.
Boy, you got a mess of them.
Yeah, there are a lot of them here. Walter Frazier, but I do not have, where would I find him? Where's he hang out?
Who's that?
Nestor.
No place. He lives, he's in the phone book. He lives, where's he live, Audrey? Oh, she's gone.
I don't know.
Well, right out here off the trail.
Do you see him much?
On Kenrow.
Not- Huh?
On Kenrow.
Kenrow.
Okay.
But his name's in the phone book.
Okay. Maybe you can tell him about it. I'll tell you who put me on you. I told you who put me on you. Did. And he hasn't done it.
Yeah.
No.
Now, he's over there later than I was.
He said he was over there late.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd like to get, I want to get everybody. We have 9,500 veterans in this county. I'd like to
Is
get
that
them all.
right?
Yeah, I won't get them all. No.
Yeah, I had a brother killed over there
Did you?
in the Battle of the Bulge.
Oh, did you?
No, gosh, I was thinking about that, in the Remagen Bridge.
Oh, Remagen Bridge.
He got killed on the
Oh.
Germany side of it.
Oh, okay. Did he just cross it or?
Yeah, when they took the bridge,
Mhm.
it was the 9th Armored
Mhm.
Infantry, he was the infantry in the 9th Armored Division. Then they counterattacked,
I see.
and he had the Silver Star, and the citation said of course, he hadn't been in long, 2 or 3 months, or 4, well, maybe a little longer than that, yeah, because he's got him. Anyway, he got he had a machine gun there, somebody did, and he told them all to leave, and he stayed there until he was killed by himself.
What was his name then?
Vaughn Butler, B-A-U-G-H-N.
Okay. All right, now tell me your name.
Huber, H-U-B-E-R.
Middle name?
Huh? Maurice is really, nobody ever used that.
Butler.
Butler, just plain old Butler.
And they call you Chuck.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna put that in parentheses here.
don't ask how they got that out, Huber.
Yeah, where'd that come from? There's a C up there. Let me have a look. Okay. Okay, Chuck, when were you born?
June the 18th, 23.
All right. Now, here's what I do. And you are on tape 10, so I'll give you this. This is you put this with your stuff.
Okay,
And
yeah.
this says, to my family and all my descendants therefrom. And this tells them where it is down at the library, and it tells them what on tape it is. So 100 years from now, people's going through your stuff, and they say, well, what do you know? All right.
That's the reason I taped them tapes, was for grandchildren.
Great, that's a good idea.
And he ended up, there's 2 of them in England. There's one in Chicago, one in the state of Washington, one in Lexington, Kentucky, one down right out of Cincinnati. There's 3 tapes. It took 3 tapes to do it.
And you told your story on those tapes?
I told it without writing it down.
Oh, gosh.
From the day I went in service until the day of discharge.
Well, I got a couple of questions here
Okay.
that prompt me, so, and now, your name is Huber, and you call you Chuck.
Yeah.
And Butler,
All right.
B-U-T-L-E-R, and you told me when you were born. Where were you born?
Jackson County,
Jackson
Ohio.
County, Ohio. Okay. What is your present address?
1219 Kenneth Lane, Portsmouth.
Okay. And you're retired?
Yes,
From where?
construction work,
Okay. And how much education did you have?
high school,
Uh-huh. And you're married, single, divorced?
married,
Married. And what is your wife's name?
Audrey,
Audrey Butler.
yeah,
What is her maiden name?
Gash, G-A-S-H.
I ask people questions about their parents and
Yeah.
maiden name because I know that some people have a genealogical interest.
Yeah, yeah.
So as far as that goes now, what were your parents' names?
My father was Freeman Butler. My
Mhm.
mother was Clara Tolan Butler.
And her maiden name was Tolan?
Yes.
Okay, now let me ask you this one. Do you know their parents' names? Starting with
No,
your...
I don't.
Okay. All right. Now, your wife's maiden name was what?
Gash,
Okay.
G-A-S-H.
What were her parents' names?
Hmm.
We might have to get her in here after all.
Elizabeth was her mother.
Liza, E-L-I-Z-A.
Eliza.
Eliza? Okay. And
John.
what?
And John.
John was your father's name? Okay. And what was your mother's maiden name?
Davis.
Davis. Now, do you know your father and mother's parents' names?
My mother's parents was Minnie.
Come here. Come here.
I don't,
I'm going to take that camera in there when we're done.
Minnie and Max Davis.
Davis, okay. And what was your grandmother's maiden name? What was Minnie's maiden name?
Pankus.
How do you spell that?
P-A-N-C-O-A-S-T. And
Okay.
they called it Pankus.
Now that's your mother's parents' name. What was your father's parents' names?
I know his mother's name was Melvini, but I don't know his father's name.
Okay.
George.
George?
Yeah, George.
Okay. Do you know her maiden name?
No.
Okay. Now where were you born? Portsmouth, Jackson,
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Quincy, Kentucky.
All right, very good. Well, thank you very much. Now, do you have any children?
2.
Okay, and what are their names?
One of them's, the girl's Carla,
Mm-hmm.
K-A-R-L-A, and the boy is Alvin Rhett Butler. Goes by the name of Rhett.
Rhett Butler, okay. Now, Carla, is she married?
Yeah,
Okay, and
lives in Lexington.
lives in Lexington. Does she have children?
No, no.
Okay, now does Rhett,
Yeah,
he's married?
yeah,
Does he have children?
yeah. Had 3. Has 2 girls and a boy.
2 girls and a boy, okay. What are their names?
Jessica and Christine and Jonathan.
Okay, very good. Now let me see here. Let's get started on. Did you enlist? Were you drafted? What was the deal?
Well, when they lowered the draft age to 19, I went in.
Okay.
With the draftee. I didn't enlist. I went with, I don't know if you know it or not, but an enlisted man was 30 days ahead of being drafted.
Oh.
They enlisted 30 days before they had drafted.
When did you go in?
December 19th, 42.
All right. And when were you discharged?
October the 13th of 45.
What was your rank when you were discharged?
Tech sergeant.
Okay. Now, were you in the Army, Navy, Air Corps?
Yeah, I was in the Army Air Corps.
Okay. And what did you do?
I was a gunner. I was an armament gunner. I went through armament school. You had to go through some school besides the gunnery. I was an armament gunner, and I was a waist gunner most of the time, and then I was a nose gunner.
Okay. And being a gunner, you were on a plane?
Yeah,
What kind of plane?
B-17,
So
4-engine bomber.
Okay. Most of the time you were a waist gunner on a B-17, and sometimes you were a nose gunner too.
Well, I transferred up there. See, all planes did not carry bombardiers.
Oh, I see.
When our bombardier left, I went up front. That's how I come to be a tech sergeant.
Okay.
They called for another grade when you're dropping the bomb.
How could you get by without a bombardier in a plane like that?
Well, just very few planes carried a bomb sight. Y'all dropped off of the lead plane.
Oh, I see.
He led the formation. The lead plane led the
Is
formation.
that where you would find your bombardier?
Yeah, There'd be other bomb sites in the group in case the lead was shot down.
Mhm.
But that lead plane, when he opened his bomb bay doors, everybody out there. When he dropped, everybody dropped.
So you're watching this guy?
Yeah, yeah.
And taking your
Yeah.
cues from, okay.
See, the bombardier flew the plane.
Mhm.
The pilot had nothing to do with it once they started on the bomb run.
Mhm.
The
Okay.
bombardier took over.
Where did you do your basic training?
Miami Beach, Florida,
Mhm.
in the hotels.
In the hotels? How do you do basic training in a hotel?
Well,
It's not the way I did it.
the government leased all them hotels down there and restaurants. Not all, but 90% of them.
Mhm.
And used them for basic training. And they used golf courses for the drill.
Okay,
And
all right. Then did you go to advanced training after that?
no, I went from there to Armament School, Laurie Field, Colorado, which is at Denver.
Okay.
And then I went from there, I was there about, if I remember right, about 15 weeks. Then I went to Las Vegas Gunnery School,
Mhm.
and I was there 6 weeks. Then I went to Salt Lake City, Utah, on the fairgrounds in Tent City.
Mhm.
And what that was where they put the gunners. Then if some base or some new organization, when they're starting a new group, if they needed we'll say an armament gunner, they'd just sit there and get them. Or if they needed all the gunners, they'd take all 6 gunners, see, or maybe that's 6 gunners on a plane. They'd take them from there. That's what they done, supplied gunners.
I see.
From there I went to Moses Lake, Washington.
How long were you,
I was at Moses Lake probably a couple months. That's out in the desert, south.
what did you do there? Still
Well,
practicing?
yeah, there's a foreman in the group.
I see.
It's forming the group.
Now, would this be the same, when you say the group, you're saying the crew?
Yeah.
Are they forming the crew?
There's getting the crews together and it getting ready to go into the group training from there.
Okay.
We left there, we had some little class work, but not, we just
Okay.
really didn't do that much there, because we was only there a few weeks. And then, now what I'm telling you now was not the group I flew with.
Mm.
I flew with the 351st, but this was the 401st
Mhm.
that I done all my training with. And we went from there to Montana.
Mhm.
And they put the 4 squadrons around in little towns in Montana, like I was at Cut Bank and I forget the other name, but these 4 little towns. And that's where we done our flight training, which wasn't much. You remember during the war, they didn't train too much.
They wanted to get you over there, didn't they?
That's right, they didn't hurry for it to get there.
Well, when you say get there, you went to England or
Yeah.
Scotland, or where did you go?
Well, from there, we took a train to New York City and got on the Queen Mary and docked in Scotland, because the Queen Mary can't dock every place.
Mhm.
It was too big.
Mhm.
Because the Queen Mary went unescorted, see.
Mhm.
They hauled about 18,000 troops on it.
Oh, goodness.
And
What was that like, being on the Queen Mary with 18,000
it-
crowded?
well, a stateroom that would hold 2 people, they would have at least 12 in it. They stacked them up in hammocks,
Okay.
and they stacked them up. It only held, that plane is over 1,000 feet long. It only held 1,900
Mm-hmm.
passengers in peacetime.
Mhm.
And then they put 18,000 on it in wartime.
All right. How long did it take you to get across?
I think it took us about 5 days.
Now-
With no escort, see, that's the main thing.
Were you scared? Were you worried?
No.
Nobody?
You forget you're on a boat.
Okay.
When you're on something that big,
Okay.
you forget it.
Now, when you were on the train going from Montana to
Yeah.
New York City, were you able to take leave when you got through Ohio there?
No.
Went straight to New York, get on the ship and go?
The only leave we got after I went in service, and we went to Montana before we ever started training there, they give us 5-day furlough with travel time. That give us living in Ohio, I got 5 days travel time. In other words, I had 10 days to come home and get back there.
Okay.
And that was it.
When do you remember when you landed in Scotland, the date?
Let me think here. I think it's the 2nd of November of 43.
43.
2nd of November of
So
43.
you were in the States, you say you went in 42. When did
Yeah, December the 19th of 42.
So you were almost a whole year
Yeah,
over here
Yeah,
in various bases and things.
yeah. Well, really, yeah, 10 or 11 months.
Okay. Now, were you married at that time?
No, no.
Okay. Now, when you got overseas and you landed in Scotland, where did you go?
They took a train, we took a train down to the 401st, which I was in then. Went to a base down in, I can't remember their town. It was right close to where I flew from. Because what we done, we went to this base, and then about the 25th day of November, we got down to that base about 401st base at about probably we'll say the 5th or 6th of November. Then on the 25th of November, they transferred 34 crews. That's a lot, 34 crews, over to the 351st. And I was in that transfer. And then I became a 351st man, and then I flew all my missions in the 351st. We never flew or done nothing with the 401st.
How close were you to London?
I don't know, I can't hardly think how.
Did you go into London?
Huh? Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm guessing low on this, probably 60, 70 miles.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. I never did figure it out.
Well, what was the countryside like? Was it?
Oh, it was nice. It was all nice. Of course, the towns was bombed out that time, you know. And London had just went through a bad time, see. And I didn't like England as much then and appreciate it as a kid as much as I do now.
I see. Well, why? Why do you change?
I appreciate what they went through with. You know, nobody in this country ever seen anything like that. Nobody ever been bombed here, you know. And what they done, lived in the subways, you know. And
well, what would you do? I mean, would you go to the pubs?
Yeah.
Would you go, all that sort of thing?
See, everything was blacked out.
Okay.
In other words, you could see nothing. They wouldn't even let a match be lit, you know. And yeah, it's just typical GI stuff, you know.
Well, should I ask you, what does a GI do, a single GI do when he's on liberty?
Well, as you say, we hit the bar.
Okay, okay.
And there was a lot of women there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough then.
That's enough of that.
Now, when did you fly your first combat unit?
I flew my first mission on December the 1st of 43
I see.
with another crew.
Not the three?
And they come in that barracks that morning, woke me up and said, "You're the tail gunner." And I told them I wasn't the tail gunner, I was a waist gunner. Tail gunner, I said, "It's right there." They said, "That didn't matter, I was a tail gunner." So I flew with a different crew.
On your very first mission?
On the very first mission.
Now, on your other missions, did you stay with the same crew
Yeah.
pretty much?
Yeah, from then on, our second mission come, and that was with our crew December the 20th to Bremen. And then, from then on, that was with our regular crew.
What was the name of your plane?
Nobody's Darling.
Nobody's Darling.
Yeah, it's already been named before we got there.
Okay.
It was a kind of a, well, I can't think of it. Anyway, it had bad luck. It was a bad luck plane. We found out later.
What made it bad luck?
I don't know. It'd been over there a long time and only had 6 missions in. so it was, you know, it was kind of, and we ended up crashing it. That's what we ended up doing.
On what mission did you crash it?
Well, let's see. On the 20th, we went to Bremen. On the 30th, we went to Ludwigshafen, I guess the way, in Germany. Then on the 31st, New Year's Eve, we went down to Bordeaux, France.
To bomb?
Yeah. And
That'd be the very next day.
Yeah. When you go to one of our allied countries, you got to see the target. They don't bomb through clouds. Now the others, they bomb through clouds with radar, you know. But not when you went to Belgium or France or our allied countries. We didn't do that. And that was the biggest mission I was ever on.
When you went to Bordeaux?
Yeah.
Bordeaux, France,
Yeah.
okay.
You want to hear about it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, we took off that morning, I think around 4 or 5 o'clock. And well, I'll just start from the ground. After we got our ship loaded, got all our, start with, we went down and got our clothes. which consisted of a heated suit,
Mhm.
sheepskin coat, and pants. Now, some of the times we carried that sheepskin in a bag in case we had to bail out or something. We could have some clothes that was warm and everything. And we went down, we got all that, then we went to the briefing. At the briefing, they told us where the mission was gonna be.
About what time would that be?
That would be, if we got up at 3 o'clock that morning, it'd probably be about, they'd come to your barracks, they'd say, breakfast at 4, briefing at 5.
Mhm.
And that's all they'd tell you, and it's up to you to get there.
Did they feed you well at breakfast?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, we had space, anybody that flew had special
I see.
mess hall because you couldn't eat any food that would give you gas
Right.
because of high altitude, so you're not pressurized planes, and they wouldn't. And, but when you went to the briefing room, they'd have a curtain up there. When they moved the curtain, pulled it back, it showed you the ribbons showing you the target in, or the route into the target, and the route back out again. And where the fighters was to pick you up, and they'd have where the flak was that they knew about, all the flak positions. They'd have them marked in red.
Were they usually pretty accurate?
Huh?
Were they accurate with the maps? When
Yeah,
they said,
yeah,
were they accurate?
Yeah,
Okay.
they was,
If there was flak there, they
Yeah.
said it, there'd be flak.
yeah, I remember sitting in the nose later on with the bombardier, or with the navigator, and he's pointed there, he says, there's flak right there.
Mhm.
And so, I don't know why, we went right over it. There wasn't much, but we could went either side of it, missed it, but we went straight over it, and sure enough, it was there.
The pilot said, decided I want to go over it.
Well, the lead plane, see?
Lead plane, right?
Yeah, see, that's where the trouble is.
Okay, 5 o'clock, you're in the briefing, they pull back the
Yeah,
curtain.
yeah, and then when we go out to the plane, and of course, they have it all loaded and
When they
ready.
pulled back the curtain, was there all this moaning and?
Oh, yeah,
grinding?
sometimes.
Oh, no, not there, that kind of
Well,
stuff?
Well, March the 6th, they did, when that was the first Berlin raid.
Oh, I see.
There'd never been a daylight burn raid of Americans.
That first one. huh?
Yeah. They
Were you
did,
on that one?
yeah.
Okay. Did you go, oh, no?
I didn't. When you're young, you don't care. First place, you remember, a young person can't get killed.
That's true.
You know, they're not gonna die.
No,
I
right.
never thought about that. But anyway, it'd
Okay.
take us about, we'd spend an hour getting up and getting formed into a group, see?
You mean in the sky?
Yeah. What they'd have is marker, I forget what they call them, like a radio thing, beacon, see, that they'd say, you're gonna form up over splashers, what they call it, splasher 16, see, or whatever the number was. Well, that's where it'd have a lead plane, painted different. He wasn't going on the mission, he was just to get them formed up. He would be so that you could identify him without having to get up to see the number or anything. And you knew that,
Different color or
yeah,
something like that?
yeah, stripes on it or something like that. So they'd form up on that. And it took a while to form up. So you'd circle there until there'd be 18 planes.
In a box or what?
Yeah, in a box. That's right. 18 in a wing, really. It was a wing. The box was 6 lead planes, 6 low planes, 6 high planes. Each one of them made up the lead box, low box, high box.
Okay.
On altitude, they was 500 feet between the low and the lead and the high. Each one of them.
You had to watch where you were going.
Yeah,
then,
yeah, because you drift over under,
Okay.
especially on a bomb run. See, you could drift. Anyway, they'd get formed up after. You know, nowadays they go to altitude in a minute. We'd be an hour or so getting up. You know,
Getting up to how high?
down. Now, before we left England, we didn't get very high. We only got to about 10 to 12,000 feet. Then we started climbing. From then on, we just gradually go up to save gas, see, to about anywhere from 24 to 26,000 usually.
When how do they do that? The plane's on the ground, the engines are going.
Yeah.
And then what do? They release the brakes and you start
Yeah.
to taxi down.
Well, what happens when they fire a flare from the control tower. The control tower was only about, we think about big tower, but the control tower was probably, it was 2 stories, probably 20 feet tall. But you could get on the roof of it. They'd get on the roof, they'd fire I think if I remember right, a green flare. That meant it's time to start. And then you knew, the pilot knew where he was to get in this coming up. See, the planes were dispersed over a big area. They wasn't 2 planes together, no place, to keep from being bombed, you know, and losing them all. Then they start coming out to their taxi strips. And then when they get headed on the first one gets headed down the runway, the first plane would be on the right side. The second plane, or it could be vice versa, second plane on the left, third one. Then every 30 seconds, once the first one let go of his brakes, he got the first flare was the taxi, then he got a flare to take off. Once he let go of his brakes, he revved it up as fast as he could before he let go of it. He went down the runway, and 30 seconds, the one on the other side would go down, so they didn't hit the prop wash from the one going down the first side, until all the planes was off.
How long would it take you to get airborne?
Well, they kept it down as long as they could. They could have got them earlier, but the pilots would try to keep it on the runway. I don't remember how long.
Why would they try to keep it down like that?
Well, get up more speed.
Oh, okay.
See, they'd have more speed when they got in the air.
Okay.
That's why they do.
Does the plane shake a lot when you're, what's it like inside that plane going down there?
Not too bad. It wasn't, they're noisy. B-17s, they're noisy, see?
Were you ever in B-24s and 25s?
No,
Okay.
never was in a B-24.
But the B-17s are noisy?
Yeah, and the B-24s, I'm sure us too, because the wind, see, it coming, the waist positions didn't have, they was open. It's open, see?
Okay, all right.
And then after we'd get airborne, they had the navigators and all had the points that they had to go to, and we went, just like on December the 31st, we went to...
This is Bordeaux.
Yeah, to
Okay.
Bordeaux. We went down west of London and hit the peninsula out a ways. We wasn't in close, tried to stay out away from France a little, I mean, it was France, but to stay out away from the main air bases and make it a little harder for the Germans to get there. They didn't even bother us going down that I knew of. Now, I don't know if there's any planes that come up, but we went across there, and the problem of this whole mission, it was too low. They was gonna fly it at 16,000 feet, thinking there wouldn't be no opposition down there. But anyway, we crossed the Brest Peninsula, and then went down across the water, south of Bordeaux, and we crossed over there, the coastline, and the lead pilot seen that they couldn't see the target. So then they always have 2 targets, first and secondary. So then we headed north to Cognac. That was the secondary target. Then the lead plane on the lead box was flown by our CO of our base, was Colonel Hatcher. And then there with him as co-pilot was my squadron CO, can't think of his name right now, but then there was a group bombardier in there, which was a lot of brass in it. And they was the first ones over the target, and we lost all 3 of the first ones over. They shot them all down over the target. The next 3 was right in behind them, they got one of them.
Shot them down with flak or?
Yeah, an aircraft. Because the planes on a bomb run, the enemy planes they'd stay away, because they'd run the risk of getting hit with flak. Then they'd hit you as soon as you got out of that flak, because that's when the plane may have been hit and be a straggler. See? But anyway, that was the big loss right there. Lose 4 out of the first 6 planes over the target. And when we get to the target, we had 54 planes, but there's 18 in each box. They split up and went in tandem. The front of the lead box, their 18 went, and then the low box, the high box come next, their 18 come in. It's basically being over France. They didn't want to bomb the whole countryside. And then we come in as the last one. Then we had troubles. We was getting underneath of another planes.
So
So
they were dropping their bombs?
well, they're getting ready to, so our 18 planes, we're never sure what happened. We done a 360-degree turn right there on the bomb run. And that, to do that, with them bombers and do it tight, you've got to stand that thing on its wing. In fact, it's hard to stay up in there because it was
What do you mean stay up in there?
and that open waist, you know, you're leaning over to it because
Okay.
he had it stood on the wing, he really did.
Did every plane do that?
Yeah, the 18,
that's what I meant.
making that big turn and flying formation is,
Well, he had to get out from under the planes.
yeah, he was seen he was going to be under too far. I guess it's the only thing we could ever find out. So that didn't help things any either. But anyway, we got the bomb run, then we come back out over the,
Is this on Cognac instead of Bordeaux now?
yeah, Cognac.
Okay.
And then we come back out over the water. Well, the formation on paper looks good, you know. It really looks neat, but it don't go that way. By the time we got back out over the water, there's planes scattered every place. Well, we had to go back across the Brest Peninsula. Well, of course, the Germans knew we was coming back later in the day, so they had moved their planes in. And that's when we got hit. The worst is right there. And our plane, I was in the right waist. And there's only one plane I even got a shot at, but I could see the tracers going by that window, and they was hitting our plane. I seen they hit the antenna on there. It started flopping around on the radio.
On your plane?
Yeah, on our
Okay.
plane.
You saw the enemy's
Tracer.
fighter tracers coming at
They
you?
was within 4 feet of the wing, of the waist position.
I see.
In fact, I stepped back from it, not that it would have helped any, but
Did they go through the fuselage?
yeah, well, we don't know, because we ended up crashing it, we don't know.
Oh, okay.
We don't know what happened. But it did shoot the radio out, which was a big loss. But anyway, we went back across there, and our group lost 2 or 3 more planes around the Guernsey Islands there. And I'll tell you, some of them had a rough time. They was in that cold water, and the Germans, they could see the Germans, but they wouldn't come help them. They wouldn't, and some of them finally got up on them rocks. Now this story's coming out of the history of it, and
You didn't see it?
no, I didn't see it coming out. And they got up on them rocks, and then the tide come up and took them back out again,
Oh, man.
and they still lost their lives.
Oh.
It was. But anyway, we got across the Brest Peninsula, and England was socked in. You couldn't see nothing, and we didn't have a radio. So we hunted around and flew around. Finally found the airfield, but when they got down lower, it was bulldozers on it. They was working on it. So so then our pilot headed west. And there's a little inlet, I can't remember the name of it, it goes up into the west from the bottom of England, and there's beaches in there. So he told us to prepare for crash landing, and when you prepare for crash landing, everybody but the pilot and co-pilot goes to the radio room and sits down. The first guy sits down with his back to the front bulkhead in the radio room. And then the next man sat between his legs and the next one. And there'd be 2 lines like that. And it sat, and you put your hand over it. And they brought it down. We wasn't in there a minute until they set it down on the beach. And it was smooth as could be.
Really?
Yeah, on that.
You had a good pilot then?
Yeah, he really done a good job. And the thing, that beach had concrete posts all.
Did you hit any of them?
No.
Shear off the wings?
I think that one was broke off. And we got through there. Now, I couldn't swear to that story. But anyway, we skidded to a stop, and man, you talk about quiet, it was quiet. And
Nobody spoke for a while.
That radio room has, the top slides open. We'd already slid it open before we ever, if I remember
Are you
right.
talking about where the top slides open, there's a gun there? Isn't
Yeah.
Is that the spot?
Yeah, that's where that's where you go out through there.
Okay.
When you in fact, they done away with that gun later.
No, did they?
Yeah, they found out the radio operator didn't have time to really use. So we went out there and the English come out to see us and they told us the tide was coming in. So we stripped what we could out of there.
What would that be, your guns?
The insides of the guns, not the whole. And that was only a few, see, the 2 waist guns and I think that one the radio operator had in the top tour.
How many missions did you fly altogether?
29.
29. I thought that you either had to fly 25 or 35. Did you get shot down
It
or
was
something?
25, and they changed it to 30, and I had in 16. So they give me credit for one.
They gave you credit for one?
So I got credit for 30. Somebody, see, some of them had in 18 or 19, they might probably got credit for 3, see.
I see.
Or 2, or 4, you know.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't be right for them to have to go on 5 extra one day, I think.
Okay.
And so that,
That's the mission to Bordeaux, which didn't happen. It went to Cognac instead.
Yeah.
And you landed on the beach.
yeah, and stayed there all night.
Okay.
English.
Were they good to you, the English?
Oh yeah, oh my, they treated Americans like heroes. You know?
Did they?
Well, they did, because they was heroes to them.
How about the English military? Were they good to you?
Well, we never did see them.
Okay.
Really never did see them. I don't think they liked the Americans, for the simple reason that they went down to North Africa to fight and left all the American GIs up there and their wives up there.
Yeah.
So.
Overfed, oversexed, and over here.
Yeah, that's right. There's a book on that, you know. That's named that.
Well, what were your other missions like then? That was an exciting one, it sounded like. You went to Berlin.
Yeah. Well, the Berlin was, of course, the first day like Berlin, you know that the Germans were going to put up all they had. You know, it was the biggest loss mission, the number of planes that the 8th ever had.
There were 1,000 planes in that, but how many were there in that? March 6th.
I was reading the other day, I think it's 860 some in the first, and they lost 68 of them. But that wasn't the highest percentage by any means.
Was that that time that you were going to Bordeaux? Was that the only time your plane was shot up, or did you ever?
Oh,
get shot up?
you got holes in it.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
basically an aircraft. Any gunner or any crew member will tell you an aircraft is worse, really, almost to
Than
be
a
a shot,
fighter?
because you can do nothing. You have nothing to do. You have nothing to do, and it's going off, and you'd be surprised how it throws a B-17 around in the sky. See?
So if you have an explosion over here, the concussion can.
Yeah, or throw the wing up, see?
Okay.
You throw the wing up and throw you into another plane if you wasn't careful. But of course, the formation wouldn't be as tight, see? They'd loosen it up when they was in flight, only on the bomb run. That was the one thing, on the bomb run, you didn't do anything to get away.
Were you ever wounded?
No, nobody on our
I
crew.
was going to ask if anybody in the crew ever got hit or anything.
No.
That's quite lucky.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And nobody was shot down and never had to bail out or anything like that.
No, we
You probably saw that though.
Huh?
You see a plane and the parachute's coming out?
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
that was part of the thing we used to watch for, and because when you got back to the base, they had the debrief, and that's when they asked you what you seen that day, because that way they could tell is a chance that the crew was living yet, see, or not, because once I seen 2 planes run together. That was on the last raid I was on.
Run
2
together in the
B-7,
air?
yeah,
In the
2
air?
B-17.
What they do, just.
I don't know what, I just seen them explode.
Oh.
They just drifted together or something happened. It happened quite often. It really did. It happened. And planes would blow up. See, I seen one Monday evidently, maybe the pilot got hit or something, but it done a loop. Or we used to argue around whether a plane would stay together doing a loop, but it done a loop. But then it went into a spin, and that was it. Nobody got out of it. See, once they get into a spin, the force is too great.
Throws you.
Yeah, you can't get out of it.
Well, now, when you were over there like that, when did you get back from from England?
Well, that's another,
Okay.
I didn't get to come home when I finished my mission.
Well, what did you get to do?
They shipped me to another base just 2 or 3 miles away, and I stayed there. See, I finished my missions on May the 8th, 44, as a month before D-Day. I went over to this other base and really done nothing. Stayed there till D-Day.
Is that right?
I could have went on the D-Day mission, see, since I'd finished my mission, but right then it didn't seem like that good an idea. But you know, as you look back, you think, well, I wish I had it, but they didn't get to see much. But anyway, they shipped me up to Northern Ireland.
Northern where?
Ireland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'd done absolutely nothing up there. I learned to play cribbage, and so we
It was
done
worth it after all.
and yet to this day, we don't know why they kept us over there.
You mean the whole crew?
Well, no, just I was the only one out of our crew.
Well, what happened to those other guys? Did they
They
go
all
home?
come home. But there's a lot of other gunners up there in Northern
Oh, I see.
I thought, my idea was that we was there in case the ground force needed it. We was gunners, we could handle a machine gun, we could do things.
Might be right. I didn't think of that.
I don't think, because they shipped me right back, after 2 or 3 months up there, they shipped me back to England, to Chelmsford, England. That's
What'd you do there?
Over 20 miles from London.
What'd you do there? Anything?
No.
Nothing, still nothing.
Well, you won't believe this, but they had the idea of us learning on the German planes all about where you could hide a booby trap. They said they're going to have us to go in there after the war and take the booby traps off of them planes, obsolete planes. So you know that makes you wonder how we won the war, right?
Right there. How do we do that? Well, there's got to be some German over there thinking the same thing, though, so I guess that's fine.
It was in that was on Buzz Bomb Alley. You know what Buzz Bombs?
Yes.
They'd come over at night. You know about scaring you to death.
What was that like when you...
Oh, man. See, they just flew low, because there wasn't nobody in them.
Can you hear them?
Oh, yeah, they're noisy. You wake up at night, and the English fighters be up there trying to make them crash. And of course, we was hoping they didn't crash, you know, coming over. But the English would go up there and put their wing under the wing of that thing, and once they flipped it over a little bit, it'd go out of control.
Okay.
Trying to keep it hit Berlin, or hitting London.
Did you ever experience a, what they call a V2?
No, we heard them.
Did you
We heard them when you'd be in London there, at that time, when I was at Chelmsford, see, that's when they was.
Pretty large explosion.
Yeah. We bombed them places that they come from, not knowing what we'd bombed. It looked like a ski chute. Exactly, just like when them skiers take their jump. That's what it looked like to us, and that's what they called them, I think, for us. But they knew, I guess the Americans knew what, and English knew what.
What's the scariest thing that ever happened to you?
Well, it wasn't even in combat.
It wasn't.
No, we was going up one morning to form up, we was going up through the clouds,
Oh.
and all at once the bottom dropped out.
What do you mean?
Well, evidently we went through where another plane had went, and we had no lift on the wing.
Oh.
And we went into an uncontrollable dive. And I couldn't see the pilot, co-pilot, but I found this out later, that they both had their feet up on the dash and both pulling back on the yoke with all their might, and it wasn't taking hold. It was just...
Well, finally it must have.
Yeah.
What happened?
When I was in the waist then, you could see them wingtips starting to come up. And of course they're made, I got play in them so they could come up. And I couldn't have bailed out of one day. I couldn't have got off the seat in that power dive. And I'll tell you, it's probably as close as we ever come to really getting killed.
And then after you finally got out of the dive, how what was your altitude then?
I never could find out for sure. We're still in the clouds.
Okay.
When and we went back up, there wasn't a plane in the sky, so we just went back to the base.
Did you? That didn't count though, then?
No,
mission,
no.
did it?
That's another thing. See, we had a lot of missions would be scrubbed before we ever got off the ground. Sometimes they scrubbed before we ever got out the plane in the morning. And then they'd have recall you'd be in the air and they'd recall you. See, now my job, besides waist gunner, I pulled the pins on the bombs. You go up after you got it airborne at about 10 or 12,000 feet out of, or heading for your target. I'd go up in there and pull these cotter pins, just plain cotter pins. American bombs had a bomb on a fuse on the front and the back, and had propellers on it. Well, that bomb would not go off until that propeller spun off of there, going through the air, and that's what armed the bomb. Otherwise, that kept it locked where it couldn't go off. And you had to pull that pin out so them propellers would fly off of there as it went down through the air to arm it. And then if you got a recall mission, you had to go back in there and put them pins back in again. Then you had to land with the bomb load, see. And if it was a recall, you could figure you had 3/4 of your gasoline left too. So it was, I didn't like that at all. The first plane I flew on, nobody's darling, we crashed down there on the beach. It didn't have what they call Tokyo tanks out in the end of the wings. So half of our bomb bay had a 500-gallon gasoline tank in it, made to fit in there, and hung on the bomb shackles. And we're supposed to bring that back, but our pilot, they didn't. They just dropped it too.
Did they?
Yeah, it was empty, and you know, if a shell had hit it, it'd blowed that thing out.
There'd been vapor in it.
Yeah.
If a shell had hit it, gone.
Yeah. So.
What nobody's darling? What was the name of your plane?
Black Magic.
Black Magic.
Somebody named it.
Did you stay with that one then?
Yeah, we stayed with it. Well, we'd fly different, once in a while we'd fly a different plane.
Okay.
If it was, if a plane got shot up, then it may be grounded for a day or so. And the ground crew worked on all night. You could tell there's going to be a mission the next day when you heard the planes running all night. They'd run them up, the engine, everything.
What's the, I guess one way to put it is the best thing that ever happened to you?
Just to live through it again.
Okay, you did do it.
Yeah.
Do you keep in touch with any of your friends?
Yeah.
Crew or anything like that?
Every group, almost every group has a reunion every year. And I didn't find out about ours until 89. I went to Huntsville, Alabama. And then ever since then, we have a reunion at a different place all over the United States. In fact, this year is going to be in England, back to home base.
Have you ever been back?
No, I'm not going this year.
Oh, you're not going to go back to England?
But I've been to all of them here. Of my crew, there's the bombardier, which had left our plane, but he is still our bombardier we went through, and the co-pilot, and the top turret gunner, which is the engineer, and myself. It's the only 4 left.
4 of you left?
Yeah.
Okay. Where are they, spread out?
Yeah, one's in Chicago, and one just now moved up along the Oregon-Washington border, and the engineer's over at, in Delaware.
Okay. Well, why don't you want to go to England?
Well, wife, she wouldn't go. Well, if I went, I wouldn't mind going, but I've got grandkids getting ready to go to college. So,
I see.
So what money it takes to go there is going to be a help for them.
Okay. Did you like being in the Air Corps? Did you like it?
I'll tell you what. I know people may not believe this. I couldn't have stood it to have a war going on and I wasn't in it.
Oh,
That's the way I felt about it. I wanted to get in it, and I wanted to be part of it. And I wouldn't have missed it for anything. I really wouldn't have.
Okay. Well, you know, in a way, it's kind of the, I mean, I know you've had a lot of important things happen to you, but it was right up there. Wasn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, how many people get to liberate the free world?
Yeah. It's quite an experience, it is.
Yeah.
Now just like our co-pilot, for example, he was 20 years old, co-pilot, had never flew a bomber. He was a fighter pilot, come over. Our original pilot out in Montana crashed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we had that 5-day furlough.
Yeah.
He got back to base earlier. It wasn't that, it was the main headquarters. But anyway, he got back early and they was going to try to use 90 octane gas because they use 100 in them. They thought they could train